Welcome to your second module, which is actually entitled Module 1, Short Stories. The first paper that you are going to have in this class is to do your first literary analysis, and your literary analysis will be over a short story. Before you can do a literary analysis over a short story, you have to read short stories. So you have a collection in this folder of 4 different short stories that you will be expected to read. And each one of these short stories has 2 assignments. You have a discussion question assignment, and then you have a discussion post assignment. They're 2 separate assignments, they're not the same one. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want you to be aware of. Again, because of the textbook issue and waiting for those to come in, for the first story entitled The Birthmark, I do have a copy of that in your birthmark folder. You also have some literary terms to help you in understanding the discussion questions for the birthmark. And you have a video over the birthmark and your discussion questions and your discussion post. For where are you going, where have you been, you have a video, um, a little analysis on some symbolism within the story, and then your discussion questions and your discussion post. For Good Country People, the only thing you have in that folder are your discussion questions and the discussion post. And then the same thing for the yellow wallpaper. You have just the discussion questions and the discussion post. You'll notice that for the first 2 stories, they give you a little bit more supplemental information in the folders. And then for the last 2, I kind of take that away. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to get you to look for some of that supplemental information on your own. That's part of being a more advanced student, which you're going to have to be as you go through your academic career. So you always want to look up information. At this point, I know a lot of you are probably going to look at Schmoop and Spark Notes and stuff. I'm actually okay with that. I don't mind you looking for those at those to try to help you understand stories. Just make sure that you don't copy information from there or try to use sites like that as a reference or a source when you get ready to write your paper. Just use them as kind of like a teaching mechanism to help you understand the story if you need to. Okay. You'll notice the very last folder in this module is just entitled Short Story Answers. Pretty self-explanatory. It's exactly what it sounds like. After the due date for each one of these assignment folders, each one of your stories, the answers will become available in this folder. That way you can go and you can look in this folder and read, kind of like as a lecture, read the responses to all the questions that I had you answer. Keep in mind that just because my answers may be different from yours doesn't mean that you're wrong. One of the great things about literature, and actually why I love teaching literature, is that there's never just one right answer. Um, when you think about when you listen to a song on the radio, one person can think that the song's about love, and then another person will think it's about family, and then another person will think it's about God. Everybody has their own ideas of what the song is about. The reason we do that with music is because each of us have our own experiences and our own lives and things that we've gone through. So that shapes us in how we approach life and how we approach art. And literature is a form of art. So I might read the birthmark and take one interpretation from it. You might read it and see something completely different, and that's okay. You'll also notice this when you start doing your research. In the next module, when you start looking up articles, you'll notice that not everybody agrees. You'll read one criticism that says one thing and then read another one that says something else. The reason for that is, again, there's never just one right answer or just one interpretation. We call this ambiguous interpretations or ambiguous themes, ambiguous meanings. That's the technical term that we use. To get more technical terms or literary terms, that you can use in your writing, both for answering your assignments and for writing your papers. If you look at the very first folder in this module entitled Literary Notes, you have some literary terms with definitions, and then the different types of approaches when you do literary analysis. These are called literary criticisms. So you'll find those that information in your notes in the very first folder. Again, guys, if you have any questions, you're not writing your first paper in this module. You're really kind of delving in and focusing on the stories and how to interpret and analyze these stories. I have one last thing to talk to you about before I let you go, and that is theme. When you think of theme, sometimes students think that the theme is just what the story's about. That's not what the theme is. What the story's about is called the plot. Okay, the theme, that is, think of it this way. The theme is when you're reading a story and the author who wrote the story had a message to get across. Um, as you're reading, the theme is what you think the author's intention was. What's that author's message? What was that author trying to get across to society or to the public who was reading that story? What were they trying to get the audience to learn or to take from that story? That points at the theme. That gives you your interpretation of what the theme is. Okay, so sometimes to really get to theme, um, you have to educate yourself on the author. That's why you'll notice on all of these stories, there's always an author bio that starts out the story. That's why you kind of have to know what time period the author lived in, what issues were taking place in that society that the author was living in. Because if you don't have that information, then it's harder for us to gather what the author's actual intention was. Anyway, this is just a short review of what's in this module and what you can expect to hopefully learn and gain through this module. Again, guys, text me if you have any questions.